Hey guys, it's Shamsa and welcome back to another video. Today's recipe is juicy, melt in your mouth beef meatball curry with potatoes. Every bite is a perfect balance of heat, depth and richness, making it the ultimate comfort food. So let's start cooking. So the ingredients you're going to need is as follows. I've got here beef mince, and we're making meatballs, which are also known as koftas. Now this mince has 15% fat, and you want a little bit of fat in there because you don't want the meatballs to dry out. I've got here finely sliced onions. We've got potatoes, which I'm adding to this dish. Now you can leave this out, but whenever I make a meatball curry, whether it's lamb or beef, I will always add potatoes into that. And honestly, when they soak up that flavour from that masala, they're the best ever. I've got here oil of my choice, which is coconut, and we have two sets of spices, one for the mince itself and one for the masala. So the spices for the beef mince are as follows: salt, coriander powder, Kashmiri chilli powder, nice colour and mild heat, turmeric powder, homemade garam masala and whole cumin seeds. And the spices for the masala is salt, coriander powder, again Kashmiri chili powder and turmeric powder. We also have a frozen piece of ginger and garlic, and please don't panic, I will have a list of all the ingredients along with the quantities in the description box. So if you don't know how much I put in where, just refer to that. I'll have it all listed for you guys. And we have here onions, fresh coriander and green chilies. Now we're going to put this in our food processor and we're going to grind it down, and we're going to add more flavour to our beef mince. And I'm going to show you the method to how I do it to prevent it from getting too wet and watery. So I'll show you that once we start cooking. To finish the dish off, I've got here fresh coriander and homemade garam masala. Right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fry our onions until they're nice and golden brown in colour. And I've got my pot here. I've got my heat setting, which is currently on a low, and I'm going to add my oil in and just allow that to heat up. And we're not adding too much oil into this because, again, the beef has the fat in there, which once we start cooking the meatballs, they'll start to release that fat. So you want to keep the oil levels a little low when you first fry the onions. Right, so the oil is nice and hot, and I'm going to add my onions in and fry them for about 8 to 10 minutes. I'm going to turn my gas hob to a medium, and I'll show you how they look in around 10 minutes time. Right, 10 minutes later, and this is how the onions should be looking. Nice and soft with a light brown colour to them. And I'm going to add my ginger and garlic into this, along with the spices. And I forgot to mention, you also need a can of chopped in tomatoes. So I'm just going to add that in as well. Let's give that a mix. Just turn the hob up to full and just allow that to come up to temperature. So once that's come up to temperature, I'm going to pop the lid on. I'm going to lower my gas settings down, and I'm going to allow this to cook away for about around 10 to 15 minutes until the tomatoes and the onions soften up really nicely to give you a thick masala. And in the meantime, we're going to prep our keema. So I'm just going to move my camera over and I'm going to show you how to do that. So I've got my food processor here. I've added my coriander and all my chilies into this. Now add however many you want. If you like it spicy, add more in. This is a medium dish, and we don't like it bland, so I've added around approximately 4 to 5 green chilies in, and they are hot. Now when I make this is how I do it, and there's a reason behind it. So if you were to add everything in and your chilies don't grind down finely how you want them, then all you'll be doing is constantly just pulsing this and creating the onions to break down more, and it'll start to get watery. So the first step that I tend to do is add my coriander and my chilies in and pulse them down how I like them, and then I go in with the onions, and that works really well. So lid on, a few pulses and it should be done. And again, with the coriander and the chilies, it doesn't really matter how small they get. So as you can see, oh my God, they're hot. Lovely. So in with the onions. They are really spicy. I can feel them. Oh, oh my God. My husband's gonna love this because he loves spice. And then again, you want to pulse it. So, you know, maybe 8 pulses. And then check to see if it's done. Maybe a little bit more. And you want the onions to be nice and small so they don't stick out too much when you form your meatballs, and that's perfect. So I'm going to transfer the mixture that we just made into the bowl with the beef mince in there, like that. That's looking great. And then I'm going to add the second set of spices in, the one with the cumin seeds, straight in like that. And we're going to mix this thoroughly. Just combine all of that. And now we're ready to form our meatballs. Right, I'm all set to make the meatballs. I've got my mince here, I've got a large tray to put my meatballs in, and I've also got a bowl of cold water which I use to help form the meatballs. So I take a little bit and just add it to the middle of my palm, and then take the mince and just form into a round shape. And you want it to be approximately the size of a golf ball. But again, I mean, it all depends on whether you want to make them slightly bigger, smaller, but that's how you should be making your meatballs. And then just continue to make all of them. And there you have it, all my meatballs are ready. This recipe has given me 30 meatballs. Right, coming back to check on the masala. It's been 10 minutes that this has been cooking away. And you can see that the oil has started to separate and come to the surface. That is what you want. The tomatoes have broken down really nicely and the onions have softened up as well. And that's what you want. So I'm going to turn my gas onto a medium, and we're just going to cook out whatever moisture's left in there. Just cook that out and just thicken this masala. And that's going to take approximately 2 to 3 minutes. So it's been around 2 to 3 minutes, and you can see that the masala is coming on really nicely. The oil has started to separate and come around the edges. And this process might look boring, tedious, and you might think that you want to skip this step, but it's actually very important that you do these little steps, because this is what elevates the dish to that next level, from a curry being normal to absolutely amazing, out of this world. These are the little steps that you need to be focusing on. And once you've done this, we're going to go in with some more boiled kettle water. So I'm just going to turn my gas to full now, and I'm going to gently add the koftas in. And that little bit of water actually helps them to cook and stop them from breaking. So do it one by one, don't just plonk them in. And now we're going to pop the lid on. We're going to turn our gas setting down to a medium, and we're going to allow this to cook away now for about 10 minutes. Now, you don't want to touch them, you don't want to move them around. Please don't be tempted to do that, because you'll end up breaking the meatball. The next 10 minutes will allow those meatballs to cook enough to be able to move them around. And I'll see you guys back when they're ready. Right, okay, so my 10-minute timer has just gone off, and I'm just going to remove the lid to show you how it looks. And now we can actually start moving the meatballs around, because there's very little chance that they'll break. Now, at this stage also, I'm going to add my potatoes in there. So now we're starting the all-important bunning process. So I'm going to turn my gas back up to a medium again. I just lowered it ever so slightly. What the process is, just keep stirring, keep moving the ingredients around in the pot, and we are going to cook that water that's in there out completely until it's evaporated. And what that's going to give you is a most amazing masala that you can enjoy with naan, and the flavors are going to be absolutely wonderful. And we're waiting now for that to cook down, so take your time with this. And what we're looking for is for that oil to separate and come to the surface and around the edges. I'm also going to change my wooden spoon for a spatula, because I don't want the meatballs to break. So just be gentle. and I'll see you guys back in around 10 to 15 minutes time. Right, okay, so it's been 15 minutes that I've been punning this, and this is how it looks. You can see that the onions and the tomatoes have broken down really nicely. Now, if you wanted to just serve this up as it is, you can do. Just make sure your potatoes are fully cooked. Again, it depends on the variety that you use. I'm using red potatoes, so I know they take slightly longer to cook. I'm actually going to be adding some water into this to loosen it up. I like this curry slightly runny, so I'm going to add boiled kettle water into this. And just give that a mix. I mean, you can add more, you can add less, that's entirely up to you. But I like it to be slightly runny with my chapatis or my naan, whatever I have them with. And allow it to come up to temperature. And then I'm going to lower my heat setting, and I'm going to pop the lid on. Just make sure your potatoes are actually submerged in there so they cook. And then we're going to lower our heat setting down, and I'm going to cook this now for the next approximately 6 to 8 minutes on low heat, just so the potatoes cook through and they're nice and soft. And again, what will happen is that oil will separate and come to the surface again for the last time. And I know a lot of you will be asking, well, why did she not just cook everything in the water that was already there? Again, it's all about developing flavour, and the only way you can develop flavour is to cook out that water completely and then allow the oil to separate and then pop more water in there and cook that as well, so you don't have that watery taste. And that's the reason, guys. Please do follow the recipe through fully. If you don't and you start skipping steps, then you come back to me and say, well, it didn't taste the same, or it was watery. The reason behind that is because you're not following the recipe right down to the T. Please do that. I'm going to see you guys back in around 6 to 8 minutes, and we'll be ready to finish this dish off. So see you guys back then. Right, okay guys, this is how it looks 8 minutes later, and you can see that the water that I added has cooked down beautifully. And now we can just turn the hob off, and I'm going to finish this dish off. I'm going to add my homemade garam masala, which I will leave a link to in the description box, because homemade garam masala is always best. Fresh coriander right over the top like that. Wonderful. And then just gently stir everything through. Oh, it smells so good. But just look at that. And there you have it, guys, my homemade beef meatball and potato curry. Serve it with rice, naan, chapatis, whatever you fancy. Please make sure you try the recipe. Let me know in the comments below how you find it. And thank you so much for watching. See you guys very soon.